Hello everyone, today's video is my very first What's for Dinner video in which I am going to be sharing 5 meals that I cooked for my family for dinner. I thought this would be a fun way to share my love of cooking and also give you some new dinner ideas. So let me know what you think about this idea. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, this first recipe is for a creamy Italian sausage gnocchi dish. It's a one-pan dish. We start with some raw ground sausage, and I'm chopping that into bite-sized pieces. This does have some Italian flavors in it, so I did use Italian sausage. After I have the sausage chopped up, I'm going to chop up half of an onion. And then I'm putting the sausage in my pan. I'm going to start sauteing that a little bit to kind of get the juices going. And then I'm going to add my chopped onion and saute those both together until they are pretty much fully cooked. After those are pretty well cooked, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, or you can add fresh garlic, of course. I'm also adding a 1/3 cup of dry white wine and letting those flavors mix together for a little bit. And then we're adding a jar of diced tomatoes. It's home canned diced tomatoes, but you can add a 14-ounce jar if that's what you have. 1 cup of heavy cream, and again allowing that to mix together and come to a simmer. Now it's time to add the gnocchi, so a pack of uncooked potato gnocchi I'm adding in here. These are just potato dumplings. They're kind of like a pasta. They're really yummy. And once that comes to a simmer, just give that a cover and allow it to cook for about 5 minutes or so. I decided I wanted to add a green vegetable as a side dish, so I went out to the garden and got some kale, and I'm just sauteing it with the other half of that chopped onion for a nice little impromptu green side dish. I think I sauteed that with some bacon fat. After the gnocchi has had a chance to cook for a while, I'm adding some Parmesan cheese, salt and pepper, and some dried basil. You can add fresh basil if you have it on hand. I did not, so dried basil it is. There is the delicious looking finished product of creamy potato gnocchi with Italian sausage, and there is the finished sauteed kale. This was a delicious dinner, and I cannot wait to make this gnocchi recipe again. This next recipe is a really easy recipe for stuffed peppers. Very simple, minimal ingredients, and super delicious. And it's in the slow cooker, so extra bonus. So I started by cooking up some rice. I want about 1 cup of cooked rice. Now I'm going to start by hollowing out my peppers. Then in a bowl, I am mixing about 1.5 pounds of ground chuck raw with the rice and some garlic salt, and that is literally it for the filling, other than the topping that we're going to do in a minute. So like I said, really simple. Mix that all up and stuff it into the peppers. My peppers are a tad wrinkly because they have been sitting in my fridge for a couple weeks, and this is a great recipe to use up peppers that are maybe not the freshest but still don't want to waste them. Alright, then I'm just sticking them in the slow cooker here, and this is just the easiest way to make these. You can make them in the oven. They cook a little bit faster in the oven. You'd want to add some water to the bottom of the pan, but I just like to do it in the slow cooker. They are so delicious. So for the topping, I'm adding some diced tomatoes, again, my home canned diced tomatoes, as well as a jar of tomato sauce. And that just adds a really nice flavor. Again, just a super simple recipe. That is literally it. Then cook those about 4 hours on high, and now we're taking a cookie making break.
Daddy, give me some.
Oh, that's nice.
This guy's gonna need a bigger like this.
Okay.
I remember that mother told me. I don't really want to make a big cookie.
Gonna make a big cookie?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make
Okay, roll it up in a ball and then squish it flat.
Oh, for the banana.
Yeah.
I will give me that stick. Oh,
Use your hands. You can...
you gotta go like.
Yeah.
It's easier using the rolling pin like this.
Oh.
I think a rolling we don't have like a rolling like this. Hey, it's working. It's still kind of thick, but it's working. It's kind of this one kind of thick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this one kind of thicky.
Okay, to go with our stuffed peppers, I decided to make a side of some sauteed garlic butter mushrooms. This was another really delicious impromptu kind of a thing. I had mushrooms I needed to use up, so I rinsed them off. I chopped up half of an onion, added a couple tablespoons of olive oil to the pan to saute those mushrooms. Just kind of started getting them cooked, and then I added some salt to bring out the flavor. Then I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter, letting that melt most of the way, and when that is melted, I am also going to add the onions as well as some minced garlic. I'm adding a little bit of chicken broth as well as some white cooking wine just for some liquid. Then lastly, I'm adding some dried parsley. I didn't have any fresh parsley. That probably would have been best, but dried parsley is better than no parsley. I did add 2 more tablespoons of butter at the very end, and as you can see, a lot of that liquid did evaporate off or boil off as it was cooking, and it just left some really great flavors. This was a hit, at least for me. The kids didn't love it, but I did. And there are the stuffed peppers all done. Okay, dinner number 3 is a vegetable soup, and I pretty much 100% improvised this. I didn't use a recipe. I don't think I used a recipe at all. For a lot of my stuff, I kind of use recipes as guides, but this one was pretty much just use up the vegetables that I needed to use up in the fridge, and yeah, that's pretty much what it is. So we're starting with our aromatics. We're starting with chopped onion and celery. To saute those, there is nothing like some bacon fat. I do save bacon fat when we cook bacon for breakfast, and that is what I like to use a lot of the time to saute things. It just adds a really nice flavor, and I like to not waste it. So that's what I'm doing. I also added, of course, some minced garlic. carrots chopped. I'm chopping up some red pepper and some yellow pepper. Again, just using up what I needed to use up in my fridge. Here I'm taking a little bit of chicken broth and using it to scrape off the flavorful goodness that is sticking to the bottom of the pan. And after I scrape that off, I'm adding the rest of the chicken broth for the liquid in the soup. To add some protein, I'm adding a can of pinto beans as well as a can of, those are mixed like tri beans, just what I had on hand. I also added a jar of diced tomatoes and a can of corn. For herbs, I added some dried oregano. And just for fun, I also threw in a can of peas. Alright, to go with the soup, I decided to make some biscuits, and I found a fun recipe for ham and cheese biscuits online. So I am adding the dry ingredients mixed with some cubed butter. I am listing all the ingredients on the screen here so you can see clearly what I'm adding. And I'm just combining that as quickly as I can with my hands, seem to be the easiest way. And I also wanted to mention that I will be linking any recipes that I used for inspiration. I do get a lot of recipes, ideas, and inspiration from Pinterest. So anything that I got direct inspiration from a recipe from another creator, I will be linking that in the description box. Okay, now I am just chopping up my ham and adding about a cup of cooked ham. Next is the shredded cheese. I believe this is a Fiesta blend because it's what I had and wanted to use up, but I think if I did it again, I would use a sharp cheddar shredded cheese just for a little bit more of that cheesy flavor, but these turned out very, very good. Next, I'm adding some milk and sour cream. Then I decided I wanted to add some bigger pieces of something into the soup, and I had this head of cauliflower, so I chopped up I think half of it and added that into the soup. Then I had some leftover cooked bacon that I decided to add kind of at the last minute just to add a little bit of, you know, meaty flavor and to use up the bacon I had in my fridge. So dinner number 4 is barbecue chicken sandwiches. I'm starting off by mixing up a homemade little barbecue seasoning here. I did get this recipe off of Pinterest, I believe, so I will link it if I can find it. But it's pretty simple: brown sugar, salt, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, as you can see, and some pepper. simple recipe. And then I'm mixing that up and pouring that over the frozen chicken, which I am going to be cooking in the Instant Pot. Really nice, quick way to get it all cooked there. Okay, so my chicken is all cooked and I am using a electric mixer to shred it. That is the quickest, easiest way I have found to get shredded chicken, especially if you don't mind it like really shredded for a sandwich or something like that. I am using some of the liquid from the Instant Pot to add to it, just to add the moisture if it seems too dry. That is something that I like to do. And then I did decide to add some additional barbecue sauce for more flavor. I didn't feel like it had enough barbecue flavor with the seasonings that I had added before. For sides this day, I wanted to keep it really simple and quick, so I just cooked up a box of macaroni and cheese and some steamed green beans from the freezer. Okay, our last dinner here was beef stroganoff, and again, this was a bit of an improv. I did follow a recipe, but I also wanted to use up some stuff that I have. So as you can see, I used those mushrooms from a couple of nights ago that didn't get eaten. I wanted to throw them in here, and then I also had cooked up the other half of that container of ground beef from the stuffed peppers, and I had that in my fridge, so I threw those two things together and I'm just heating them up a little bit in the pan here. Then I am just adding 1 can of cream of mushroom soup, as well as a little bit of beef broth. Then I did add a little bit of sour cream as well as some paprika. Then I just cooked up some egg noodles here, and you could throw this into the stroganoff. I decided to keep them separate just for the kids so they could have some buttered noodles if they wanted. And there is the finished beef stroganoff. Oh my gosh, this was also so delicious. And I just served this with some steamed broccoli, and that was dinner number 5. And that completes this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear any feedback you have. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.